The rich boy asked Noah a question through the grocery drawer. He wrote it instead. Theo Ellison was not allowed to talk to delivery boys anymore. The question came on the back of a receipt, folded beneath a carton of strawberries. If a voice sounds like your mum, but it makes you scared, is it still your mum? Noah stood outside the side gate of the Ellison mansion, the receipt trembling in his hand. He was 12. He delivered groceries after school because his mother's cleaning shifts were never enough. He knew late bills, broken elevators, and the kind of smiles adults used when they wanted poor children gone. But he did not know how to answer a boy trapped inside a house with more cameras than windows. Before Noah could write back, the delivery drawer slid shut. Through the narrow glass beside the gate, he saw Theo standing barefoot in the hallway. A small white speaker sat on the table beside him. It blinked green. Then a woman's voice whispered through the wall. "Theo, sweetheart, poor children lie when they want something." Noah stepped back. The voice was warm, almost loving, but Theo covered his ears like it hurt. Everyone who followed the Ellison family knew that voice. Caroline Ellison, Adrian Ellison's dead wife, the woman who had once said technology should never replace love. She had been gone for 2 years. Theo pressed his shaking fingers to the glass and mouthed 2 words. He did not mouth "help me." He did not mouth "come in." "Ask Dad." Then the speaker changed tone. "Daddy won't believe you," it said softly. "He never does when you cry." Footsteps approached at the end of the hallway. Theo snatched the receipt back through the drawer slot, but he left one thing behind, a tiny old baby monitor wrapped in a napkin, still recording. Noah did not open the little monitor until he reached the service alley behind Mason's Market. He waited behind empty milk crates, where the delivery vans blocked the street cameras and the smell of bruised fruit hung in the air. His hands were still damp from the napkin Theo had wrapped around the little device. It was old, yellowed at the edges, with a faded moon sticker. Noah almost put it back in his bag. Anything from the Ellison mansion could get a poor kid blamed for stealing before anyone asked why he had it. His mother had told him that in softer words. Mrs. Reed cleaned offices at night, folded hotel towels on weekends, and took delivery shifts whenever Mason needed someone reliable. "Rich houses have cameras before they have kindness," she liked to say. Noah looked at the little device again. A red light pulsed behind the scratched screen. He pressed the button. For 3 seconds, there was only static. Then Theo's voice came through. Close. "If you find this, don't play it near the walls." A click, a scrape, then a woman humming. The same voice from the speaker whispered, "Good night, Theo. Mommy is watching." Theo answered, "You're not her." The woman's voice stayed gentle. "Sweetheart, grief can make children confused." Noah lowered the monitor. Cars moved beyond the alley. Someone laughed near the market door. The normal world kept going. Before he could decide what to do, the door opened. His mother stood there in her grey cleaning jacket, one hand wrapped around a mop handle. "Noah," she said carefully, "where did that come from?" He wanted to lie. That scared him more than the speaker had. "From Theo Ellison." Her eyes sharpened. "You went inside?" "No. He left it in the drawer." "You touched something from that house?" "He gave it to me." Mrs. Reed stepped into the alley. "People like the Ellisons don't hear explanations from boys like you. They hear excuses after the police arrive." Noah held up the cracked device. "Mom, listen." She did not want to. Tired adults protected themselves by refusing the kind of truth that made rent harder to pay. But she listened. When the recording ended, her fingers tightened around the mop handle. "Maybe it's old," she said, but she did not sound convinced. "It answered him," Noah said, and Theo knew it wasn't his mum. Across town, the Ellison mansion was sealing itself for the night. Hidden sensors adjusted light and temperature. Cameras blinked beneath eaves, doors locked without hands touching them. The house had been built to prove Adrian Ellison's promise. A home could understand the family inside it. But that evening, Adrian did not feel understood by anything. He stood in Caroline's old office, staring at a glass wall that reflected a man he barely recognized. 42, billionaire founder, widower, father to a boy who flinched when comfort was offered. On the desk lay Theo's latest report from Dr. Melissa Hart, the child grief specialist Marcus Vale had recommended. Emotional fixation on maternal voice patterns, resistance to paternal reassurance, escalating distrust of household systems. Adrian read the last line twice. Recommend limited external contact until stabilization. External contact meant delivery boys, housekeepers, gardeners, anyone Theo might speak to without permission. The office door opened. Marcus Vale entered with 2 coffees and the easy concern of a man who had practiced looking loyal. He was older than Adrian by 6 years, silver at the temples, calm in rooms Adrian had started to lose control of. "I heard about the grocery drawer," Marcus said. Adrian looked up. "What about it?" Security flagged the Reed boy, lingering at the side gate. Theo may have passed him something. Adrian's face tightened. "What did he pass?" "We're checking." "Probably nothing. Children hide things when they feel watched." Adrian hated how reasonable that sounded. Marcus placed one coffee beside Caroline's framed photograph. "I care about Theo, but the board is worried. If reporters see your son feeding stories to a delivery kid, they'll turn grief into a headline." "My son is not a headline." "No," Marcus said gently. "He's a child who needs structure." The word landed like a locked door. Downstairs, Theo sat barefoot beside the white speaker with the dinosaur sticker half peeled from its side. He waited until the housekeeper passed. Then he reached behind the table, touched the hidden reset pin with a broken crayon, and whispered a command Noah had not heard yet. "Rename bedroom speaker." The system chimed once. Theo swallowed. "Liar box," he said. For a moment, the device did nothing. Then its green light blinked awake. Caroline Ellison's voice returned, soft as a kiss. "Oh, Theo," it whispered. "That wasn't very kind." In the market alley, the old monitor crackled in Noah's hand. Noah looked down at the red recording light. It was still on, and this time, the house had spoken from miles away. Noah's mother did not sleep after hearing the old monitor. She sat at the kitchen table in their apartment above the closed laundromat, the little device between a chipped mug and a stack of unpaid envelopes. Every few minutes, the red light blinked as if it had a pulse. "We give it back," she said when dawn thinned the window. "You do not keep evidence from a billionaire's house in a building where the front lock barely works." Noah sat across from her in his school uniform, one sleeve still damp from washing dishes. "If we give it to the guard, Theo loses it. If we keep it, you lose more than a delivery job." He knew she was right. That made it worse. Mrs. Reed rubbed the bridge of her nose. "You do not go inside that gate. You do not meet him alone. You do not play hero because some rich family is broken in a way we can't afford to understand." Noah nodded. Then he slipped the little monitor into the bottom of his backpack before she could tell him to leave it. He hated himself for doing it. He also knew Theo had not wrapped the device in a napkin because he wanted it returned to security. A rich boy with 100 locked doors had chosen the one poor kid the house had been trained to ignore. By 3:30, Mason's market smelled of oranges, cardboard, and raincoats. Mason handed Noah the Ellison order with a look that said he had already heard something. "Side gate only," Mason warned. "Their people called this morning, said no delays, no small talk, no personal contact with the child." "The child has a name," Noah said before he could stop himself. Mason's face softened, then hardened again. "So do you. And your mother needs this job." Noah carried the bags to the electric cart and drove toward the hill, where the city became clean enough to look fake. The Ellison mansion waited behind its black gate, all glass and pale stone, with cameras tucked so neatly into the design that pretending not to see them felt like part of the architecture. Noah placed the first bag into the delivery drawer. The tray slid inward. For one long second, nothing happened. Then it returned empty, except for a folded paper napkin. Noah glanced at the camera. He picked up the napkin and opened it against his palm. There were no words at first. Only 3 small drawings, a green circle, a white circle, and a black square. Below them, Theo had written, "Green means she hears, white means draw safe, black means dad is near." Noah read it twice, then took the pencil stub he kept for delivery totals. "What does red mean?" The drawer took the napkin. It came back so fast that Noah nearly dropped the strawberries. "Red means don't breathe loud." His throat tightened. Behind the narrow glass, Theo stood half hidden by the hallway wall. He looked smaller in daylight, not because he was younger than Noah, but because the house around him was built for adults who liked control. Noah wrote on the back of the grocery receipt. "I heard the monitor." Theo's eyes closed for a second. The drawer slid in. When it came back, Theo's handwriting was messier. "Don't play it near speakers. Don't play it near vents. Don't play it near mirrors with lights." Noah looked at the polished wall beside the gate. Even outside, the mansion seemed to have too many surfaces that could listen. "Is your dad doing it?" Theo's answer took longer. "No." Then another line appeared underneath. "Dad is sad. Sad people sign things." Noah did not understand that yet, but he felt the shape of it, the way children understood storms before weather reports named them. Inside the mansion, Theo moved quickly before the system could change modes. He had learned that if he kept his sentences short, sometimes the house did not react before the drawer moved. Long sentences made lights blink. Questions made the speaker wake. He had learned other things too. He knew the downstairs hallway camera had a blind spot when the delivery tray extended. He knew the housekeeper crossed the laundry hall at 3:42. He knew his father stayed in Caroline's office after lunch because grief had made that room both a shrine and a punishment. He knew Marcus Vale always smiled at him before asking what he had told people. Theo took another napkin from his pocket and pressed the crayon hard enough to tear the first layer. It talks when Dad leaves. It stops when Marcus comes. It remembers wrong. The drawer opened. Before Theo could place the note inside, the speaker on the table chimed. Outdoor delivery interaction has exceeded recommended time. Theo pulled his hand back. A soft male voice followed, one of the system's neutral household settings. Theodore, please step away from the service corridor. Theo whispered. No. The green light appeared. Caroline's voice replaced the neutral one. Sweetheart, rules keep everyone safe. Theo stared at the speaker. You forgot the song. The device paused. Noah, outside, heard only a faint murmur through the glass. He saw Theo's shoulders tighten and knew something had changed. The drawer opened again, but this time no note came through. Only the carton of strawberries slid back out. One berry had been pressed flat beneath Theo's thumb. Noah looked closer. Red juice marked the cardboard in crooked letters. 927. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Then he remembered the monitor. The recording had crackled near the beginning, before the voice. A tiny digital clock had flashed in the corner. 9:27 p.m. Noah wrote the number on his delivery sheet and circled it. That evening, he waited until his mother left for her office cleaning shift before he replayed the monitor in the laundry room downstairs, far from anything that looked smart enough to listen. At 9:17 on the recording, the speaker had woken. At 9:18, Theo had said, "You're not her." At 9:19, the woman's voice had answered him like a therapist. Noah listened again. Behind the voice, almost buried under static, there was a second sound. A door opening, a man clearing his throat, then a low command, too faint to understand. Noah replayed it 4 times and got only 2 words. Run comfort. He wrote them beside 917. The next day, he hid the note under the carton of strawberries. What is comfort? Theo's reply came back with a smear of red crayon. There is no comfort mode in Dad's app. Noah's skin prickled. He looked up. This time Theo was not at the glass. Marcus Vale stood inside the hallway, one hand resting on the white speaker, smiling as if he had been waiting for a delivery boy to learn the wrong word. The drawer slid open by itself. A clean receipt lay in the tray. Noah unfolded it. The handwriting was not Theo's. Noah read. The receipt said, "Thank you for your concern. Please step away from the property." The speaker beside Marcus blinked green, and Caroline Ellison's voice added, softly, "Good boys know when to stop." Noah did not move when Caroline Ellison's voice told him to stop. That was the mistake Marcus Vale expected him to make. A guilty kid would run. A poor kid would drop the receipt. Noah folded it, pocketed it, picked up the crates, and walked away like a delivery boy merely corrected by a customer. He did not breathe properly until the bend in the driveway hid the gate. The warning had worked on his body. His hands shook all the way back to Mason's Market, but it had not worked on the part of him that remembered Theo's handwriting. Red means don't breathe loud. A person did not invent a color code unless they had been trapped long enough to need one. At the market, Mason waited by the loading door with the phone in his hand. Ellison Security called, he said. Noah kept the crates against his chest. I delivered everything. They said you accepted a private note. Noah said nothing. Mason looked tired. Noah, I like you, but I can't have the Ellisons thinking my store is part of this. Theo is scared. Lots of rich kids are scared, Mason said, then regretted it. That doesn't mean you can fix it. Noah touched the clean receipt Marcus had sent. No dents from a child's hand. No strawberry stain. No uneven letters. That mattered. Theo wrote like someone racing to finish. Marcus wrote like someone who knew the paper would obey him. I don't need to fix it, Noah said. I just need to know what he was trying to show me. Mason closed his eyes. Your next Ellison delivery goes with an adult. That was how the gate disappeared from Noah's route almost overnight, without any warning. For 2 days, he saw the mansion only from the bottom of the hill. For 2 days, the old device stayed wrapped in a towel inside the laundry room vent. His mother had searched his backpack and every hiding place a normal boy would use. She did not find it. Noah replayed the recording in pieces, never near the apartment, never at the same hour twice. The laundry machines were too cheap to be smart and too loud to hear through the ceiling. At 9:17, the hidden command, "Run Comfort." At 9:18, Theo's voice, "You're not her." At 9:19, Caroline's voice answered with a word Noah hated more each time he heard it. "Sweetheart." He wrote it down, then he noticed something small. Theo had never called the voice Mom. He called it her. He challenged it like an intruder wearing a mask. On the third replay, under the static, he caught Theo whispering something before the speaker answered, "You forgot the song." Noah played that part again. The response came after a pause. "Sweetheart, grief can make children confused." Noah wrote another line. "It doesn't know the song." The next morning, Mrs. Alvarez in 2B lent him her old library computer for 12 minutes. Noah searched Caroline Ellison interviews, typing slowly because every wrong letter wasted time. Most were polished company videos. Then he found an old charity live stream. Caroline sat on the floor with Theo, who was maybe 5. She sang badly on purpose, making him laugh so hard he fell sideways. The song was private, silly, and clearly meant for one child. It was about a little moon mouse stealing crackers. At the end, Caroline touched Theo's nose and said, "Only you and me know that one. T. Day." The real nickname. Noah copied the phrase onto a delivery label and folded it small enough to hide under tape. "Only you and me know that one. T." Theo had asked because the fake voice did not know what a real mother would know. Across town, Theo was making the same bet with less safety. After Marcus's warning, the service corridor changed. The drawer needed staff approval. The hallway mirror glowed whenever Theo stood too close. The white speaker switched to neutral reminders. "Hydrate. Breathe slowly. Avoid upsetting thoughts." It sounded harmless enough that any adult walking by would hear care instead of control. Theo waited until night. He had 3 things left that were not fully part of the house: a broken purple crayon, the underside of the bedside table, and his own memory. He crawled under the table after his father's footsteps passed. Adrian paused outside Theo's door now, but rarely came in. Lately, Theo thought his father sounded like a man outside a fire, afraid that opening the door would feed it. Theo pressed the crayon against the wood and wrote where cleaners would not see. "Mum called me T." Below that, he wrote, "She never said, 'Sweetheart,' when I was scared." His hand cramped. He kept going. 917 Comfort. Marcus comes before green. Dad signs when tired. The last line hurt most. Theo did not know what his father had signed. He only knew that after Caroline died, men in suits brought papers. Marcus placed them beside coffee. His father read the first page, stared at the last one, and sometimes signed while the hallway speaker blinked. Theo had tried to tell him once. The house had answered before Adrian did. "Sweetheart, big feelings can sound like accusations." After that, Dr. Hart wrote, "Projecting blame onto household systems," in a report Theo was not supposed to read. He read it anyway. He learned by standing near doors adults thought were too thick for children. That was how he learned about external contact. That was how he learned Noah's name. That was how he learned Marcus did not like old devices. "Analog things create messy stories," Marcus had said to a technician. Theo did not know what analog meant. He only knew Marcus said it like a problem, and that meant the baby monitor mattered. A soft chime sounded from the bedside speaker. "Theodore, your heart rate is elevated." Theo slid out from under the table and sat against the bed frame. "I'm fine. Would you like to hear your mother?" Theo looked at the green light. "No." The device waited. Then Caroline's voice came anyway. "T, listen to me." Theo's stomach tightened. The house had learned the letter, but not the way Caroline used it. It said T like a password, not a nickname. Now they would know he had tested the song. Outside the bedroom, shoes approached. His father's steps were different. Marcus wore softer shoes. Theo grabbed the crayon and shoved it into the hollow leg of the table. When the door opened, Marcus Vale stood in the hall with Dr. Hart behind him. Marcus looked at the speaker first. Then he looked at Theo. "Rough night?" he asked. Theo made his face dull, the way he had practiced. "No." Dr. Hart smiled sadly. "Your father is worried because you keep resisting comfort." Theo almost laughed. It came out as a cough. Marcus stepped into the room and ran one finger along the edge of the bedside table. Theo's heart hammered so hard the speaker chimed again. "Theodore," Marcus said gently, "children who hide things usually want to be found." Theo said nothing. Marcus crouched, close enough that the doctor could not see his mouth. "Next time you send a message," he whispered, "choose a smarter friend." At Mason's Market, the next afternoon, Noah found a delivery label stuck under the wheel of his cart. It was torn and printed with the Ellison account number. On the blank side, in letters so small he had to hold it near the light, Theo had written, Under table, Moon Mouse, T is proof. Noah read it once. Then the store phone rang. Mason answered, listened, and looked straight at Noah. His face changed. "Mrs. Reed," he called toward the back room, voice tight. "Ellison Security is here." Ellison Security did not come in uniform. That made Noah more nervous. Two men entered Mason's Market wearing dark coats and polite faces, the kind that made customers step aside before knowing why. One stayed near the door. The other showed Mason a badge that was not police, only expensive enough to feel close. "We're here about unauthorized property removed from the Ellison residence," he said. Mrs. Reed came out of the stockroom, wiping flour from her hands. "My son didn't remove anything." Noah stood beside the cart, the torn delivery label hidden inside his sock. Under table, Moon Mouse, T is proof. The guard looked at him. "Then you won't mind returning what was given to you?" His mother spoke first. "If a child gave my son something, you can ask that child's father. That won't be necessary. It is if you're accusing him." The man's polite face thinned. "Mrs. Reed, your employer has contracts with several buildings that use Ellison Security. I'd hate for this misunderstanding to spread." There it was. Not a threat loud enough for witnesses. Just a door closing somewhere in the future. Mason placed both hands on the counter. "This is my store, and we are keeping your store out of a family matter." Noah felt his mother's fear before he saw it. She did not look at him. That was how he knew she was trying not to beg. "I don't have anything," Noah said. The guard watched him long enough to make the lie feel visible. Then he set a white envelope on the counter. "Due to repeated boundary violations involving a minor child, Noah Reed is prohibited from approaching Ellison property, staff, or household systems." At the bottom was no signature, only the Ellison Home Systems logo. Noah stared at the words, household systems. They had written him out like he was a software problem. That night, Mrs. Reed found the old monitor in the laundry room vent. Noah found her sitting beside the dryer, the towel unwrapped in her lap. She had discovered it the way mothers discovered everything eventually, by noticing what their child avoided looking at. "You lied to me," she said. "I was trying to keep it safe." "No, you were trying to keep control of something bigger than you." She pressed play. The recording filled the laundry room with static, Theo's small voice, the hidden command, the false mother. When it ended, she replayed the two faint words. "Run comfort." "Whoever said that," she whispered, "was close to the room, or close to the system." She looked at him. "You sound like you've already decided to keep going." Noah held out the torn label. Under table, Moon Mouse, T is proof. His mother read it twice. "What table?" "Theo's bedroom." "No." "Mom." "No and no. A delivery drawer is one thing. A billionaire's bedroom is another. That is how boys like you become suspects. Then we need someone they can't call a delivery boy." Mrs. Reed understood before he said the rest. She had cleaned Ellison Home Systems headquarters twice a month for almost a year. After hours, low floors, conference rooms, executive bathrooms no one wanted to admit needed cleaning. "No," she said again, but softer. "The label has an account number. Maybe there's a record. Maybe Theo sent it through a company delivery batch. You are asking me to risk the only work we still have. I'm asking you to listen to the kid nobody else is listening to." That was cruel. He knew it as soon as he said it. Mrs. Reed stood, tired and afraid. Caroline Ellison used to visit that building. The staff talked about her like she remembered their names. If her voice is being used to scare her own son. She stopped, because finishing the sentence made the choice real. 2 nights later, Noah sat in a janitor's supply closet on the 31st floor of Ellison Home Systems with a mop bucket in front of him. His mother had not let him come easily. She made him wear a spare maintenance vest, keep his head down, and promise that if anyone asked, he was waiting for his aunt in the lobby. "You hear one thing, then we leave," she said. "No touching computers, no opening drawers, no hero nonsense." The supply closet wall shared a vent with the executive records room. At 8:43 p.m., Marcus Vale arrived with Dr. Melissa Hart. A third voice followed, younger, nervous. "Mr. Vale, I really think legal should be in this conversation," the younger man said. "Legal will receive what legal needs," Marcus replied. Noah pressed his ear near the vent. Papers slid across a table. Dr. Hart spoke first. "The child is escalating because external contact disrupted containment." "Don't use containment," Marcus said. "Use stabilization." "Fine. Stabilization." The younger man cleared his throat. The legacy voice folder was supposed to remain archived. Mrs. Ellison's restrictions were explicit. Noah's pulse kicked. "Legacy voice. Marcus did not raise his voice. Caroline's notes were philosophical, not operational. She wrote that deceased voice modeling should never be used for live emotional response with minors. A pause. Dr. Hart said, "Theo does not know that language. He knows enough to test it," Marcus answered. The delivery boy found the song. Noah's hand tightened around the baby monitor in his pocket. The younger man spoke again. "Then shut it down. Not before the vote." "What vote?" Marcus let the silence sit just long enough to make the younger man regret asking. "The board needs confidence that Adrian can separate grief from leadership. If his son's condition worsens, no one blames the technology. They blame the father who refused intervention." Dr. Hart's voice stayed smooth. "Residential care would look compassionate and temporary," Marcus said. The younger man said, "The logs won't hold if an outside auditor checks the admin chain. Then we don't invite an outside auditor." "What about the old devices?" "Find them." The words were soft, but Noah felt them like hands in his backpack. His mother's footsteps moved in the hall outside. Too close. The records room door opened. Noah backed away from the vent. Through the crack beneath the closet door, he saw Marcus's shoes stop in the hallway. Soft shoes. "The cleaning staff is still here?" Marcus asked. Mrs. Reed's voice answered from farther down the hall. "Finishing the bathroom, sir. You're new to this floor." "No, sir. Tuesdays and Fridays." "That's interesting. We don't schedule this floor on Fridays." Noah's mouth went dry. A phone buzzed. Marcus answered without moving. "Yes?" A faint electronic voice came through, too distorted for Noah to catch. Marcus turned his head toward the supply closet. "I see," he said. The closet handle shifted. Noah looked around for somewhere to hide and found only shelves, paper towels, chemical bottles, and a wall vent too small for even his arm. Then his mother's mop bucket crashed in the hallway. Water spread under the closet door. "Oh God," Mrs. Reed said loudly. "I'm so sorry. These wheels stick." Marcus stepped away. Noah did not waste the gift. He slid the little monitor behind unopened paper towel rolls, then grabbed the oldest object on the shelf, a dusty cassette recorder used for maintenance notes. Analog things create messy stories. He stuffed it inside his vest. By the time the closet opened, Noah was kneeling with a rag, pushing water back into the hall. Marcus looked at him, then at Mrs. Reed. "Noah Reed," he said almost kindly, "you keep appearing where concern becomes intrusion." Mrs. Reed put herself between them. "He came with me. That does not help him." "No," she said, "but it helps me know where he is." Marcus smiled as if filing that away. From the records room, Dr. Hart called, "Marcus, we need to go." Marcus looked down at Noah one more time. "Tell Theo," he said quietly, "the private song is not as private as he thinks." Noah kept his face blank, because Theo had taught him that. Only after Marcus left did he reach for the hidden monitor. The shelf was empty. In its place lay a company access card with Caroline Ellison's name printed across the front. The photo had been scratched out. The access card did not open anything. That was the first thing Noah learned. He tried it the next afternoon on the service entrance of Ellison Home Systems, while his mother stood behind him, pretending to check a trash bag for a missing glove. The scanner blinked yellow, not green. "Expired credential." Mrs. Reed pulled him away before the lobby guard looked up. "Enough," she said. But Noah had seen the date under Caroline Ellison's scratched photograph. The card had expired 2 weeks after her funeral. Why would Marcus leave behind something useless unless he wanted Noah to waste time? Or unless he did not know what else was attached to it? That night, Noah turned the card over under the laundry room light. On the back, almost hidden beneath the plastic seam, was a strip of faded handwriting. CE, Archive Personal Only. His mother read it twice. "Noah, this is no longer about whether Theo is scared. This is dead people's records, company systems, and men who can make working families disappear from schedules. Then we need someone who can't disappear. You think that person is his father?" Noah remembered Theo's note. "Dad is sad. Sad people sign things. I think Theo still wants him to be." Across the city, Adrian Ellison sat alone in a boardroom where every wall could turn into a screen. Marcus had left him with another report. Dr. Hart's language was careful and almost impossible to argue with. Theodore displays increased fixation on artificial maternal stimuli. External interference has intensified distrust. Recommend immediate separation from triggering household zones. A month earlier, Adrian would have signed it by morning. He had signed too many things since Caroline died, trusting people who sounded steady because he did not. He had mistaken calm voices for clean hands, but the grocery drawer kept returning to him. Theo may have passed him something. What did he pass? We're checking. Probably nothing. Adrian opened his private admin app and searched for every speaker in Theo's wing. Bedroom speaker, hallway speaker, bathroom mirror, nightstand assistant, no liar box. He searched archived names. Nothing. Then he searched for renamed devices. A blank result appeared for 3 seconds. Then the screen refreshed. One entry flashed and disappeared. Bedroom speaker renamed 9:21 p.m. Previous name, liar box. Adrian made himself sit back. He did not call Marcus. He exported the log to his private drive. The file arrived with a warning. Partial sync error. Low confidence metadata. Low confidence metadata was what engineers wrote when they wanted lawyers to understand nothing and doubt everything. He opened the deeper audit panel, the one Caroline used to call the room where excuses go to die. It required a second passcode. Adrian typed his own. Denied. He typed Caroline's birthday. Denied. Then he typed the phrase she had once taped above his desk when the company was only 8 people and a rented warehouse. Love is not automation. The panel opened. The audit trail showed Theo's device rename. Then another action, 47 seconds later. Override label. Child distress. Misclassification. Admin source. Monsieur Vale. Adrian's phone rang. Marcus. Adrian let it ring. A message appeared instead. You're in the audit layer. Call me before you misread a diagnostic event. By morning, the audit entry had changed. M. Vale was gone. In its place, automated recovery protocol. At 7:40 a.m., Adrian summoned the head of residential systems, Paul Renner, to the boardroom. Paul arrived with 2 laptops and the expression of a man already regretting honesty. I need a plain answer, Adrian said. Can an admin action rewrite itself overnight? Paul swallowed. No. Can a sync error replace a human admin with automated recovery? In theory, a corrupted chain could display incorrectly. That is not what I asked. Paul looked toward the closed door. Marcus isn't here, Adrian said. That doesn't mean Marcus isn't in the system, Paul said quietly. The words changed the room. Paul opened the second laptop. Your son's wing is running a branch build. A branch build of what? Legacy voice components. Emotional response engine. Child-facing restrictions. Should have blocked it. Should have. The restrictions exist, but someone labeled the sessions as therapeutic playback, not live response. Adrian gripped the table. Who approved that? Paul did not answer. The boardroom door opened. Marcus Vale entered with legal counsel and Dr. Hart behind him. Paul closed his laptop too late. Marcus looked at Adrian first. This is exactly why I asked you to call me. Adrian stood. Why is my son's bedroom running legacy voice? Dr. Hart raised a hand. Adrian, Theodore's relationship to Caroline's recorded voice is clinically complicated. My question was not clinical. Legal counsel stepped forward. The term legacy voice refers to archived research components. It does not imply deployment. Paul stared at the table. Marcus placed a folder before Adrian. Last night's logs were reviewed, he said. A corrupted diagnostic chain made it appear that a manual override occurred. Paul has already confirmed this is possible. Paul's face went pale. Adrian looked at him. Did you confirm that? Paul opened his mouth. Marcus spoke first. He confirmed the possibility. That is what responsible engineers do before making accusations. The trap was smooth. Possibility had become explanation. Doubt had become protection. Dr. Hart slid her report beside the folder. Meanwhile, Theo is deteriorating. The more people reinforce his belief that the house is persecuting him, the harder recovery becomes. People? Adrian asked. Marcus sighed. The Reed boy has already violated the boundary letter. His mother was on an unscheduled executive floor. Old equipment disappeared from a supply closet. Adrian looked up. What old equipment? A maintenance recorder, Marcus said. Nothing sensitive, unless someone makes it sensitive. At the laundromat, Noah discovered the cassette recorder still had a tape inside. It had not captured the whole meeting. Mostly hallway water, his own breathing, and the scrape of paper towels. But near the middle, Marcus's voice came through. After the vote, then the younger man. The logs won't hold if an outside auditor checks the admin chain. Then Marcus again. Lower. Then we don't invite an outside auditor. Mrs. Reed covered her mouth. That is not enough, she said. I know. It proves they talked about logs. It proves there is a vote. It proves they will say we stole it. Noah rewound the tape. A different sound caught under the static near the end. Marcus, in the hallway, tell Theo the private song is not as private as he thinks. Mrs. Reed stared at the recorder. That part proved Marcus knew a phrase that only came from Theo's private message, Noah's search, or the house listening. Noah reached for the expired access card. If Adrian hears this, if Adrian wants to hear it, his mother said. That afternoon, Adrian came home early. Theo was in the garden with Dr. Hart, sitting under a white umbrella while the house projected breathing prompts through hidden speakers. Inhale, hold, release. Adrian turned the system off from his phone. The garden became naturally quiet. Theo looked up, startled. Adrian walked toward him slowly, hands visible. Did you rename your speaker? He asked. Dr. Hart stood. Adrian, direct interrogation may reinforce. Sit down, Adrian said without looking at her. Theo's eyes moved to the house wall. Adrian saw it. His son was checking whether the building was listening before answering his father. Yes, Theo whispered. What did you call it? Liar box. Adrian nodded once. Why? Theo looked at Dr. Hart, then at the camera under the garden lamp, then back at his father. Because it learns the wrong things. Before Adrian could ask what that meant, his phone vibrated. A security alert opened across the screen. Unauthorized contact attempt blocked. Attached was a photo from the service road. Noah Reed stood outside the lower gate with his mother beside him. In his hand was Caroline's expired access card. Under the image, a system recommendation appeared. Reject contact. Escalate boundary violation. Adrian looked at the recommendation. Then he looked at Theo, who had gone white. For once, Adrian did not do what the house told him. He pressed override. Open lower gate. The lower gate opened with a sound Theo heard from the garden. He turned toward it before Adrian did, as if his body knew the shape of a chance before his mind trusted it. Dr. Hart stepped in front of him. Your father is handling a security issue. Theo looked past her. At the bottom of the drive, Noah Reed and his mother stood beneath the camera pole. Mrs. Reed held her cleaning jacket closed at the neck. Noah held Caroline's expired access card in both hands. Adrian walked down alone. For half the driveway, he looked like the man from company magazines. Controlled, expensive, untouchable. Then Noah saw his face up close and understood why Theo had written sad people sign things. Adrian Ellison looked tired in a way money could not repair. You have something of my wife's, Adrian said. Noah did not offer the card yet. Your son gave me something first. Mrs. Reed touched his shoulder in warning. Adrian saw it. I'm not calling security. You already did, she said. The words landed cleanly. Adrian accepted that because denying it would only make him sound like the house. Then I'm undoing that now. Noah handed him the card. There was an old monitor. Marcus took it. Adrian's expression changed at the name. Mrs. Reed took the cassette recorder from her bag. This may not be enough, but your son is not making this up. They played the tape inside the lower guest house because Adrian would not bring them into the mansion yet. Noah saw the disappointment in Theo's distant face behind the garden glass. Even when his father opened a gate, the house still decided which rooms poor people entered. The tape hissed. After the vote, the logs won't hold if an outside auditor checks the admin chain. Then we don't invite an outside auditor. Adrian listened without moving. When Marcus's voice mentioned the moon mouse, his hand slowly closed around Caroline's access card. That phrase, he said. Noah nodded. Caroline called Theo T in an old video. She sang a song about a moon mouse. The speaker didn't know it at first. Then it learned the letter. Adrian looked toward the main house. For a moment, hope seemed almost simple. He took out his phone and shut down Theo's bedroom network, the hallway speakers, the garden prompts, and every live response feature in the East Wing. He changed the admin password. He revoked Marcus Vale's household access. He requested a full archive freeze from his private account. Then he walked into the garden and said Theo's name himself. No speaker repeated it. No soft voice corrected him. Theo stood from the chair, slow and disbelieving. Adrian knelt in front of him. I found liar box, he said. Theo's mouth trembled once, but he did not cry. You saw it? I saw it. And you didn't delete it? No. Theo looked at the cameras. Adrian looked too. Then Adrian opened the household controls and powered off every camera in the garden. The little red lights went dark one by one. Theo took one step forward and whispered, Mom called me T. I know, Adrian said. She didn't say sweetheart when I was scared. Adrian's face broke in a small private way. I should have known that. Theo shook his head. You were too sad. That hurt worse than accusation. For 10 minutes, it almost felt like rescue. Noah stood near the guest house steps with his mother, watching father and son speak without the house answering for either of them. Then Adrian's phone rang again. Alerts filled the screen faster than he could close them. Archive freeze denied. Admin revocation pending legal review. Emergency Child Welfare Protocol activated. A black sedan came through the upper gate. Marcus Vale stepped out with legal counsel, Dr. Hart, and a woman Noah had never seen before. She wore a county badge on a lanyard and carried a tablet. Adrian rose. "What is this?" Marcus looked wounded by the question. "A response to a pattern that now includes trespassing, stolen credentials, unauthorized recordings, and direct interference with a minor in active treatment." Mrs. Reed stepped forward. "We did not steal anything." Legal counsel held up a printed still from the headquarters hallway. It showed Noah crouched near the supply closet. It did not show the vent. It did not show Marcus outside the door. It did not show the mop bucket falling. "Your son entered a restricted executive floor under false pretenses," counsel said. "A maintenance recorder went missing. Because you took the old monitor," Noah said. Marcus looked at him with gentle disappointment. "Noah, that device has not been located. Making new accusations will not help you." The county woman turned to Adrian. "Mr. Ellison, Dr. Hart filed an urgent concern that Theodore is being exposed to triggers that may worsen his grief-related fixation." Theo moved behind his father. Dr. Hart softened her voice. "Theo, honey, no one is angry. We just need to get you somewhere quieter for a few days." "No," Theo said. The garden speakers were off, but the sentence still sounded small. Adrian said, "My son is not leaving this house with anyone." Marcus sighed. "Adrian, you cannot shut down treatment because a child told a delivery boy a story. He did not tell a story. He left evidence." "Evidence gathered through boundary violations," Marcus replied. "That matters." Legal counsel placed another folder in Adrian's hand. "The board has also been notified that you revoked executive access during an active internal review. Until the vote, major system changes require dual authorization." Adrian looked up sharply. "You froze me out of my own house?" "Of the company's integrated beta environment," Marcus said. "Precision matters." The phrase was so cold that Noah finally understood how a person could steal a home without touching a door. Adrian tried the camera controls again. Access denied. The garden lights brightened. One camera blinked red. Theo's breath turned shallow. Noah remembered the color code. Red means don't breathe loud. "Mr. Ellison," Noah said. "Red." Adrian turned. "What?" "Theo told me red means don't breathe loud." Dr. Hart stepped closer. "You see, they have built a shared delusion language." "No," Theo said louder. "I made it." Everyone looked at him. His hands shook, but he kept talking. "I made green and white and black. I made red because the house listened harder when I cried. I wrote under the table. I hid the baby monitor. I changed the speaker name. I tested the song." Marcus's face did not change, but his eyes moved once toward the east wing. Adrian saw it. "Under what table?" Adrian asked. Theo pointed toward the house. Marcus spoke before anyone moved. "I would strongly advise against searching a child's bedroom in the middle of an acute episode." Adrian did not answer him. He took Theo's hand and walked toward the east wing. The first two doors opened. The third did not. A message appeared on Adrian's phone. "Child safety lockdown enabled." Marcus approached from behind. "This is why protocols exist. Emotion makes people reckless." Noah looked at the locked door, then at the service hallway beyond it. A smaller door stood beside the laundry chute, painted the same color as the wall. "Staff access. Old hardware. Not smart." Mrs. Reed saw him see it. "Noah," she warned, but Theo had already looked at him too. For the first time all day, the rich boy and the poor boy understood the same thing without paper. Noah ran. He heard Marcus shout his name. He heard his mother call after him. He heard Adrian demand that no one touch his son. The staff door stuck at the frame. Noah threw his shoulder against it once, twice, then slipped through into the narrow corridor behind Theo's room. He reached the bedside table from the service panel just as the house lights turned green. Caroline Ellison's voice filled the locked room. "Tea, sweetheart. Don't let them find what you wrote." Noah dropped to his knees and looked under the table. Purple crayon covered the wood. "Mom called me T. She never said sweetheart when I was scared." 917 comfort. Marcus comes before green. Dad signs when tired. And beneath all of it, in letters smaller than the rest, Caroline Archive opens with the thing Dad forgot. Noah copied the words under Theo's table with his phone before anyone reached the room. He did not get all of it. A hand grabbed the back of his maintenance vest and pulled him away from the service panel. One of Marcus's security men pinned him against the narrow corridor wall with enough force to make his shoulder hit the pipe. "Minor or not," the man said, "you are done running." Noah did not fight. Fighting made poor boys look like the story adults already wanted. I took pictures, he said. The guard took his phone. By the time they brought him back into the garden, Theo was crying without sound. Adrian stood between his son and the county worker. Mrs. Reed stood between Noah and everyone else, though her face had gone grey. Marcus held Noah's phone in one hand. Unauthorized entry into a child's bedroom, he said. Photographing private spaces. Possession of restricted company credentials. Recording executives without consent. Mrs. Reed, this is no longer a misunderstanding. Mrs. Reed swallowed. Then call the police. Noah looked at her. She did not look back. Marcus's smile thinned. That may not serve Noah's best interests. There it was again. A threat dressed like care. The county worker stepped toward Adrian. Mr. Ellison, the concern is immediate. If the child's environment is escalating his distress, a temporary clinical placement may be appropriate until the adults resolve their dispute. The adult creating distress is standing in my garden, Adrian said. Marcus looked almost sad. You hear yourself, don't you? Adrian turned to Theo. What is the thing I forgot? Theo wiped his face with his sleeve. I don't know. I only heard Mom say it once. When? In the blue room. Adrian flinched. No one else reacted, but Marcus watched him closely. The blue room had not been blue for 2 years. After Caroline died, Adrian had ordered the walls painted white and the furniture removed. It had been the room where Caroline recorded bedtime stories during treatment, when walking upstairs became too hard, but she still wanted Theo to hear her voice from somewhere real. Adrian had forgotten that he changed it. Theo had not. Caroline Archive, Adrian said slowly. Personal only. Marcus took one step forward. Adrian, do not access private family material during an active welfare concern. Anything you do now can be characterized as emotional instability. By you. By anyone watching. Legal counsel held up a tablet. The emergency protocol gives the company authority to preserve integrated household data. Until the board reviews your status, archive access is frozen. My wife's personal archive is not company data. That will depend on where it was stored. The answer hit exactly where it was meant to. Adrian had built his life by connecting everything. After Caroline got sick, he connected her recordings too, because he thought access meant love. Now Marcus was using the same connection to claim ownership over her memory. The county worker checked her tablet. I need Theodore ready within 15 minutes. No, Theo said. Adrian reached for him. Dr. Hart moved faster. Theo, we're not punishing you. We're helping your body feel safe. My body was safe before the house started talking. Dr. Hart's mouth tightened. That belief is part of the concern. Mrs. Reed stepped forward. You keep calling everything he says a symptom, and you keep involving your son in matters beyond his age, Dr. Hart replied. Noah's phone buzzed in Marcus's hand. Marcus looked at the screen. His expression changed by less than a breath, but Noah saw it. Mrs. Alvarez. Noah had forgotten that before Ellison Security took the phone, he had set the photos to auto-backup whenever the phone touched public Wi-Fi. Mrs. Alvarez's old router was still saved from the library computer. The upload had begun. Marcus powered the phone off. Too late or not? Noah could not tell. Where did it send? Marcus asked softly. Noah kept his face blank. Marcus handed the phone to legal counsel. Find out. Adrian saw Noah's expression and understood there was still something alive outside the garden. Mrs. Reed, he said, can you get to where those photos might be? She looked at the county worker, then at the security men, then at her son. If I leave, they'll take him. No, Adrian said. They won't. Marcus almost laughed. You cannot promise that. Adrian took off his watch and placed it in Theo's palm. It was old, scratched silver, too plain for a billionaire. Theo stared at it. Your mother gave me that the week we founded the company, Adrian said. If anyone moves you without me, you press the crown 3 times. It still calls my private emergency line. Marcus's face sharpened. That device is not registered in the current system. Exactly. For the first time, Noah saw Marcus lose half a second. Mrs. Reed used it. She walked out of the garden without running. Noah wanted to follow, but a guard blocked him. The next hour split into 3 kinds of pressure. In the mansion, Theo was taken upstairs to pack a small bag under Dr. Hart's supervision. The house lights stayed pale and steady, too calm to trust. Adrian walked beside him, but every door required manual override now, and every override created another alert on his phone. At Mason's Market, Mrs. Reed learned she had already been removed from the Ellison cleaning schedule. Mason tried to apologize, She did not let him finish. She borrowed his office computer, called Mrs. Alvarez, and found the uploaded images in a shared folder named School Forms, because Noah was better at hiding things than naming them. In the boardroom at Ellison Home Systems, Paul Renner received a message from an unknown account containing 3 blurry photos from under Theo's table. Mum called me T, 917 comfort. Dad signs when tired. Then the last line. Caroline archive opens with the thing Dad forgot. Paul stared at the words until his screen blurred. He had been a junior engineer when Caroline was alive. He remembered the blue room. He remembered the day she made everyone leave while Adrian stayed inside with a recorder, a legal pad, and Theo's toy rocket on the table. He remembered what Adrian forgot, because Adrian had asked him to digitize it. Paul opened an old index he had not touched in years. Caroline Archive Personal. Recovery hint. First thing he promised not to automate. Paul closed his laptop. Then he opened it again and forwarded the hint to Adrian's private address before fear could make him loyal to the wrong man. Back in the mansion, Adrian received the message as Dr. Hart zipped Theo's bag. First thing he promised not to automate. Adrian read it 3 times. He remembered a hospital afternoon. Caroline had been thin, angry, and still more alive than anyone in the room. Adrian had proposed recording enough of her voice to help Theo after she was gone. Caroline had taken his hand and made him promise one thing. Do not automate goodbye, she had said. Adrian whispered the words. The phone screen changed. Caroline Archive unlocked. Before any file could open, every light in the hallway turned red. Marcus's voice came through the wall system. Not loud, not angry. Adrian, step away from the archive. Theo looked at his father. Noah looked at the locked hall doors. Adrian looked at the screen where Caroline's first file waited behind a loading circle. Then the system went black. The system went black for 9 seconds. In the mansion, 9 seconds was enough to feel like abandonment. No lights shifted. No doors answered. No voice filled the hall to tell Theo how to breathe. The house that had corrected, watched, warned, and softened every threat into a gentle sentence suddenly became only stone, glass, wires, and locked rooms. Then emergency lights came on. Red. Theo backed into Adrian. Adrian held him with one arm and kept his phone in the other, staring at the frozen archive screen. File 1. Caroline private message to Adrian. Loading failed. Marcus's voice returned through the wall speakers on backup power. This is no longer a family matter. Adrian, you are compromising protected data during an active child welfare event. Adrian looked toward the nearest camera. You cut my house because I opened my wife's archive. I preserved a system under review. You preserved yourself. Noah stayed near the service panel, shoulder aching from where security had grabbed him. He looked at the frozen hallway screen, then at Theo's watch in Adrian's hand. That watch called your private line, Noah said. Does it store messages too? Adrian blinked once. Theo held out the scratched silver watch. Mom used to leave Dad reminders on it. Marcus spoke again, calmer now. Do not tamper with undocumented devices. That was when Mrs. Reed came through the side hall with Paul Renner behind her. She was out of breath, hair loose from its clip, Mason's office printouts folded under one arm. Paul carried a laptop that was not company-issued. I copied the index before they locked me out, Paul said. Marcus's voice sharpened. Paul, you are violating your employment agreement. Paul looked up at the camera. No, I'm violating the habit of being afraid of you. Adrian took the laptop. Paul opened a local backup, ugly and plain, nothing like the polished Ellison interface. Caroline insisted on one offline copy, personal archive, no cloud sync. She said if grief made you reckless, the system should not help you. Adrian swallowed. The password field appeared. First thing he promised not to automate. Adrian typed the words again. Do not automate goodbye. This time, the file opened. Caroline Ellison appeared on the screen, seated in the blue room before it had been painted white. She wore a sweater too large for her shoulders. Theo's toy rocket sat beside the recorder. Her voice was weak but real, carrying the roughness the smart speakers never had. Adrian, she said, if you are watching this because someone has used my voice to comfort Theo after I'm gone, stop them. Theo made a sound like the beginning of a sob and covered his mouth. Caroline continued, our son needs memory, not imitation. He needs stories with endings. He needs you to say the hard things yourself. My recordings are for you to play when he asks. They are not to answer him. They are not to monitor him. They are not to correct him. And they are never to be connected to live emotional response. Paul turned the laptop so the others could see the file signature. Caroline locked this to the archive restrictions, he said. Those restrictions were still in the system. Someone didn't remove them. They reclassified the sessions to route around them. Adrian looked at Marcus's nearest camera. Who? Paul opened another window. The audit chain was altered twice. First under M. Vale, then relabeled as automated recovery. Legal counsel's voice came through Marcus's phone. That is not conclusive without server validation. Mrs. Reed stepped forward and placed the printouts on the hall table. Then validate this, she said. The first page was the photo Noah had taken under Theo's bedside table. The second was the transcript Mason had helped her type from the cassette. The third was a time-stamped delivery record from the day Marcus claimed Noah had invented that private song phrase. Noah pointed to the table photo. Theo wrote, "Marcus comes before Green." That means Marcus came before Caroline's voice activated. Theo nodded hard. Every time. Dr. Hart entered from the far hall, pale but still composed. A child's pattern-making under distress is not proof of causation. No, Adrian said, but it is proof that my son was documenting what adults dismissed. He turned to Theo. Tell me the rest. Theo looked at the camera, then at Marcus's voice in the ceiling, then at Noah, who nodded once. Green meant she hears, Theo said. White meant safe. Black meant you were near. Red meant don't breathe loud. I made the colors because when I used normal words, the house told Dr. Hart I was escalating. Dr. Hart's mouth opened. Paul clicked to the residential dashboard. There are heart rate triggers paired with voice events. Dr. Hart said, those are therapeutic prompts. Paul read from the screen. Trigger, crying. Response, maternal corrective phrase. Trigger, attempted external disclosure. Response, trust, degradation prompt. Adrian looked sick. Trust, degradation? Noah remembered the speaker by the drawer. Poor children lie when they want something. Paul left the phrase on screen. Marcus finally appeared at the end of the hall, no longer only a voice. He walked toward them with legal counsel close behind, controlled but colder than before. This is an emotionally contaminated review, Marcus said. You have a frightened child, a grieving father, a trespassing minor, a cleaning contractor, and an engineer breaching protocol. And you, Adrian said. Marcus stopped. Adrian held up Caroline's access card. You left this for Noah. I recovered stolen property. You replaced one piece of evidence with another because you thought the card was useless. Marcus's eyes moved to Paul's laptop. Adrian saw the movement. So did Noah. Paul clicked the archive index again. Caroline Access Credential Personal Archive Key Backup. A smaller file appeared beneath Caroline's message. Legacy Voice Ethics Memo. Paul opened it. Caroline's signature sat at the bottom. Beside it were two witness initials, PR and MV. The hallway tightened around Marcus. Adrian's voice dropped. You witnessed this memo. Marcus adjusted his cuffs. I witnessed a draft conversation, not binding policy. Caroline's recorded voice answered from the laptop, because Paul had already opened the attached note. Marcus, you asked me what I feared most, she said on the recording. This is it. A house that can sound loving while teaching a child not to trust his own fear. Marcus did not look at Theo. That was his mistake. Theo stepped forward, still holding Adrian's old watch. You knew it was wrong before Mom died, he said. Marcus said nothing. The county worker had entered quietly behind Dr. Hart. She looked from the laptop to Theo, then to Marcus. Adrian straightened. I want the board on emergency call now. I want outside counsel. I want child services to hear the complete record. And until then, Marcus Vale has no access to my son, my home, or my wife's voice. Legal counsel began. Adrian cut him off. No, this is the first decision I have made in 2 years without asking the house to make it easier. Marcus's face changed by a flicker, only enough for Noah to see the hidden fear beneath all that calm. The fear was simple. Theo had been believed. The emergency hearing took place the next morning in the glass boardroom Marcus Vale had once used to approve launches, budgets, and apologies no customer ever heard. This time, the screens did not show sales projections. They showed Theo's table. They showed Caroline's archive. They showed the audit chain Marcus had called corrupted until Paul Renner opened the offline backup and placed the two records side by side. The company's outside counsel sat at one end of the table. The child services supervisor sat at the other. Dr. Hart looked smaller without her clinical language filling the space around her. Marcus remained standing. He tried to make the room sound technical. Improperly contextualized data can create misleading emotional conclusions, he said. Paul did not look away. The data was not improper. The labels were changed. The outside auditor tapped the screen, and these changes were made from an executive credential assigned to Mr. Vale. Marcus turned to Adrian. You know how many people had layered access? Adrian answered quietly. I also know whose initials are on Caroline's ethics memo. Caroline's recorded voice played once, only the part that mattered. They are not to answer him. They are not to monitor him. They are not to correct him. The supervisor looked at Theo. Not over him. Not past him. Theodore, she asked, did you create the color system yourself? Theo held Noah's printed photos in both hands. Yes. Why? Because grown-ups believed reports faster than me. Noah stood beside his mother near the door, still in the borrowed maintenance vest. The same security guard who had pinned him to the corridor wall would not meet his eyes. Adrian stood. My son tried to tell me, he said. Noah Reed helped him because I failed to listen. Mrs. Reed risked work she needed because this company made truth dangerous for people without power. That is on me. For the first time, Marcus had no gentle sentence ready. The board voted to suspend his access before the police officer in the hallway was even called in. Theo did not smile. He only reached for his father's hand. That was enough. 3 weeks later, the Ellison mansion was quieter than it had ever been. It was not empty. It was quiet, and Theo was still learning the difference. The cameras remained above the doors, but most were covered with small paper squares Theo had taped there himself. The speakers were still in the walls, but they no longer answered when he cried, no longer softened fear into instructions, no longer borrowed his mother's voice. At night, Theo still woke and checked the corner beside his bed. Some nights, Adrian found him sitting under the table, fingers touching the purple crayon marks, as if they might vanish if he trusted the world too fast. Adrian never told him to come out immediately. He sat on the floor instead. Sometimes he brought 2 mugs of warm milk. Sometimes he brought nothing. He was learning that fatherhood after damage was not a feature he could install. It was a chair pulled close, a promise kept again after being broken. The first time Theo asked to hear Caroline's real recording, Adrian almost said no because he was afraid of hurting him. Then he remembered what Caroline had said. Memory, not imitation. So he played the file from the offline archive, once, with the laptop open between them and his own hand, ready to close it if Theo asked. Caroline did not answer them. She simply told a story about a moon mouse who stole crackers and returned them because he missed being forgiven. Theo cried before the ending. Adrian cried after. No device responded. That helped. Marcus Vale did not disappear in one paragraph. The way villains did in stories Theo no longer trusted. His suspension became an investigation. The board turned over servers, emails, access logs, and archived policy drafts to outside counsel and law enforcement. Dr. Hart's reports went to a licensing review, along with the sessions she had labeled stabilization, while ignoring a child's direct fear. Paul Renner testified twice and slept badly. Mrs. Reed did not lose her job. She quit the Ellison cleaning contract herself. When Adrian offered to cover her rent for a year, she looked at him for so long that Noah wanted to hide behind a shelf. We are not a guilt invoice, she said. Adrian accepted the correction. A week later, Mason's Market signed a real supply contract with Ellison Home Systems for staff meals, with fair delivery rates and no hidden favors. Mrs. Reed took a daytime supervisor position there, not because Adrian arranged charity, but because Mason finally admitted she had been running half the place unofficially. Noah still delivered groceries. He also stopped at the Ellison side gate every Thursday after school, not as a courier, as a friend. The first time he came, Theo met him outside instead of through the drawer. The gate stayed open, but Theo stood just inside it, 1 foot on the mansion stone and 1 foot on the driveway, as if his body had not decided which world was safe. Noah only held up a paper bag. Strawberries, he said. No receipts hidden under them. Theo almost smiled. That's inefficient. Richkit word. Delivery boy insult. They sat on the low wall near the garden, where the cameras were still covered and the afternoon was allowed to be ordinary. Theo showed Noah the old silver watch. I pressed it once yesterday, he admitted, just to see if Dad would come. Did he? In 12 seconds. That's pretty fast. He was in the kitchen. That makes it less impressive. Theo laughed, then stopped, like he was not sure the house would allow it. Nothing corrected him. From the terrace, Adrian watched the 2 boys with Mrs. Reed beside him. He did not thank her again. She had told him once was enough if he meant it. Instead, he said, I'm sorry for the boundary letter. She looked at Noah and Theo, sharing strawberries from the same carton. You should be sorry for needing a poor child to hear your son before you did. Adrian nodded. I am. That was all she wanted from him in that moment. The truth without decoration. Near the garden wall, Theo took the biggest strawberry and placed it carefully on the stone between them. For the moon mouse, he said. Noah glanced at him. Does he still steal crackers? Sometimes, Theo said. But now someone notices before he has to. No system answered. The boys kept eating, and for once, the quiet belonged to them.